Good evening, everybody. It is, October 18th, 2023. And today you've joined us back again here at the iBug Android Insight call. My name is Hershey, and even though she's not feeling the best, but she's here. Hey, Ava, how's it going? Okay, she's there, guys. I promise. But I just want to welcome everybody to tonight's call. And just if you wanted to know what is this call about, well, we want to know about Android phones, of course, since this is the Android Insight call. And you might want to know the differences between, well, I have an iPhone, and why is iPhone 15 the same like my Pixel phone? Or maybe you want to know that our Sony phone's good, or other phones that you might have heard of like OnePlus are good. We also talk about TVs and connectivity stuff, smart devices. So hang in tight, get your questions ready, and feel free to drop them. And the other thing that we have to offer here at iBug today is that on Thursday, tomorrow, we have our show called the Trekkie Talk Show. So that starts at 8 p.m. Central Time. And if you wanted to join, it's the same Zoom link. So how you got here, we'll get you there. And then comes our Friday night movie night. And for this week, our movie is going to be Ghost. Wonderful movie. I remember seeing it with some sight, and it'll be wonderful to see it with audio description. So I hope that all of you will be able to join us on Friday, and that starts off around 7:30 to 8 o'clock Central, a little bit of pregame. So I hope you join us on Fridays. And you're just wondering, okay, you guys only have a show once a month. How do we get a hold of you? Well, if you send us a blank email at ibug, IBUG, +subscribe at groups.io. You'll be able to get in touch with us through there just to get on the list. And if you might have a question between now and the third Wednesday in November, feel free to drop your line there, and we could always help you out with any questions in the meantime. So I guess that kind of does it with all the chatter about what iBug's about, but I would love to know more about who's in the audience tonight. So let's do this. Introduce yourself. Let me know where you're from. And maybe your favorite milkshake flavor. Yeah, keep it simple. So I'll open the stage up and go right ahead.
Hi, this is Shay from Seattle.
Hi, Shay.
And hi, my favorite milkshake would have to be chocolate chip mint.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right, anyone else? Carry on with the introductions, please.
This is Kenny, and my favorite milkshake is peanut butter.
Awesome. Another good one, too, man. These are... I'm going to be hungry by the end of the episode, I tell you. Anyway, let's carry on. Next person, please.
I'm Dan. I'm in Forest Park, Illinois, and my favorite is peanut butter, too, although I like mocha if I can ever find it.
I know, right?
But
it was a difficult one.
Yeah, all the flavors you guys mentioned are great.
Yep. Heck, I can mix it all together. I mean, anyway, we'll get
There
hungry.
you
Let's get more people up in here to introduce themselves. But go ahead. Anyone else want to introduce themselves?
Hershey, what's yours?
Me? Who, me?
What's your favorite?
To be announced.
Yes.
I'm trying. Well, see, the other day I had espresso milkshake. So when you mentioned mocha and coffee and that kind of coffee,
espresso, yum.
Yeah, we have a Culver's around here, so it was interesting. I guess we'll have some topics to talk about with that experience that I had, because I would like to know about the QR codes and stuff, what you guys think. But anyway, anyone else around tonight? I know we kind of have a slow night, and it's okay. It's still cool out there in some parts of these regions, and other parts it's still hot. So.
This is Richard in
Mr. New York.
Hyde Park, New York. Yeah, and mine is actually the chocolate Hershey ice cream shake. And you're probably a little sorry you mentioned milkshakes, Hershey, because now you're going to be hungry by the time this is done.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I do have a
I'm craving
bar.
one.
I mean, I could put it in a blender. But Awesome. Well, thank you, Mr. Richard, for joining us again. I don't know, Shay, is today your 1 year anniversary too? For I know Mr. Richard was last month. Has it been? Did you join us in October or November? I'm trying to think back. But
It was,
I know you've been here almost a year or a year.
Yeah, I think it was October.
October? Well, happy year that it's been, and thank you for always coming by for the show.
Well, break
it's
out
so
the
wonderful. It's
milkshakes.
my favorite
milkshakes
call.
to party with.
Hey
All
everyone,
right.
this is Michael in
Hey,
Houston, and I'm kind of boring. I like the straight vanilla, but everything everybody else, I wouldn't turn down anything you guys mentioned.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Michael, and hopefully the earth feels good and solid right now.
Yeah, back on solid ground.
Awesome. Well, if you want to tell us more stories about things that are also happening in your life a little bit later on, Mr. Michael, we'd love to hear it. If anybody knows who Mr. Michael is, that is the iBug guy himself. So just wink, wink.
Yay.
But thank you for joining us again, everybody. And if there's any more people that want to, feel free to introduce themselves. Please state your name and where you're from, Milkshake, if you don't have to. Quiet. All right. Well, I guess Kevin doesn't like milkshakes no more because I thought Kevin came in, but maybe not. Anyway, here we are in October. A lot of stuff has happened. I guess they call it Techtober since September and October and all of that. October, tech. And so I don't know how much I feel like I'm sweating, but I'm not. I should probably go get iPhone 8 to check my temperature. Wait. Yeah, iPhone 8 has a temperature sensor, right? So it's interesting. We got new phones on the horizon. And, Mr. Michael and I were talking about a pre-game or a pre-show, perhaps, about a little situation. So if Mr. Michael's not too shy to speak tonight, would you let us know about your iPhone story, please? Yes, on Android Call. He's going to tell us about his iPhone.
Okay, sure. So I was just mentioning to Hershey earlier that I was down taking a little holiday break down in Mexico last week, and while I was gone, I got a notice that my iPhone 15 had arrived. And when I got home Sunday, I was kind of excited when I saw the note that it had been delivered. But once I got home, I was just like, oh, I'll get to it in just a little bit. So I put it up on the shelf, and then here it is, Wednesday now, and it's still sitting right there on that shelf. I just haven't had the oomph to even open the box. So that tells me that I don't know what that tells me, but I haven't I haven't even prepped my old phone to do the data transfer.
As we wanted to bring that up, you mentioned a couple key factors there. You mentioned new phone, new stuff, and then transferring, right? So reason I wanted to bring that up, yes, it's iPhone. We're talking about iPhone on Android. Oh my God. It's not that we're talking about iPhones or Androids, but it's the connectivity, right? So why I brought it up for this episode, I mentioned to Mr. Michael because 2 years ago, had said to them, hey, why don't you guys buy some Pixel phones? So Sandhya and Michael went off. They bought a 4A and a 5. And so I reminded him, I was like, well, Mr. Michael, you have a charger that's going to fit right into that iPhone 15 because now it's all USB-C. So it's just some of those common grounds, right? That all Android phones have been using USB-C for quite some time, and we've been using these same chargers and what have you. So that's one thing. And then the other aspect that he alluded to was transferring. So how do we look at the differences between Apple and Android and transfer, right? Like you get a new phone and how does it work? Earlier during the show, I heard that you should encrypt a phone and, do the Apple encrypted version or whatnot. With the Android phone, you have your you have similar things where you could put your phone next to each other and transfer via cable or via just Wi-Fi or being next to each other rather. So, we're in this space where we try to make differences of brands and devices and stuff. But I think what I'm trying to highlight is accessibility to me is the most important of any of these processes. So, though may it be Samsung Smart Switch, so may it be Pixel doing its transfer. I'm not sure how Sony does it. I'm not sure how OnePlus or the other phones in the Android platform do it per se. But what I've been hearing is it is seamless. You put it next to each other, you do whatever you do with it, and it's done. So just a little heads up if you do end up getting this new Pixel 8 phone. And a lot of good news came out of it. And that is that it's valid for 7 years. They're all valid. It's supported, better word, supported for 7 years. So that you'll have operating systems and, of course, TalkBack and everything else being updated. But TalkBack and the OS operating system, the Android operating system, they're on two different cycles, meaning that when you have TalkBack get updated, TalkBack updates itself in its own cycle. When it comes to having Android versionings, like operating system versions, you have where you might have a Pixel 4 XL running Android 12 because that was the last OS on it, and some of these other phones are capable of running Android 14. So that's where we're at currently. It's upside down cake, Android 14. That's why I kind of mentioned milkshakes and desserts and stuff like that earlier. But enough of me. I would love to hear from you. So if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, please let us know who you are and feel free to ask away.
Mr. Richard.
Go ahead, Mr. Richard.
With the transferring with Apple to Android, I would add to that, and I would say that not all apps will go to Apple. Yes, there is some that I was actually mentioning. I recently had that issue of syncing and doing that. And on this particular call, that's when I got the information. So transferring, not all apps will go to Apple and not all apps will go to Android. So, but the main deals of it, like your contacts, your messagings, yes, they can transfer over to each other, but not all apps will do that. So just kind of be careful when you make the transfer, because I ended up losing my Android and almost lost my iPad and I just transferred every single thing, and it created that hiccup in the phone and it created the hiccup in the iPad. I saved the iPad. I did not save the Android. It messed it up royally.
Tough situation there, but thank you for pointing that out. Yes, not everything does always get transferred cleanly, but great points that you made there. Thank you. Anyone else want to continue on with any other thoughts, concerns, questions? I guess everybody's Android smart up in this place, huh?
No, I have. Oh,
I was just going to say, this is Richard again, if anybody has an Android shock volt, because that is my new Android, and there is massive amount of issues, and a lot of people are complaining about it. So I'm already trying to get another Android.
Could you repeat that name again there, Mr. Richard? Android?
It's a Android 11 shock volt.
Shot volt? Never heard of that.
Yes, it's an Android 11 shock volt, and a lot of people are complaining about it. I've called the insurance wireless where I get my phones from, and that does the service, and that does the phone where I get it, and they're saying, yes, I'm not the only one complaining about it. The battery life is bad. Contacts, if you're on the phone, it drops calls, it misses calls, it messes up with messaging and text messaging. Half the time, I don't even know if somebody tried calling me because it doesn't ring. The volume ring is low. You can barely hear it, even though I have it set at max. I mean, call volume is set at max, the accessibility volume is set at max, everything is at 100% in volume, and it's still like you can barely hear it, and sometimes it doesn't even ring. So if anybody has an Android 11 shock volt, I just heard somebody never even heard of it, but it is out there, and it's a very terrible phone, and I'm sorry if you ever have one or got one.
Man, Mr. Richard, you always bring in some interesting brands of Android phones, but it's appreciated because it is one of the problems that we're having, right? These little insurance companies feel they could do whatever they want to do. Give you an old little phone running Android 11. We're currently on Android 14. So let's just count. 11, 12, wow, that's old, right? Think about it, of the numeric value of how old a versioning could be. But in this specific need, right, for Mr. Richard, it hasn't helped him solve his issues. So when you come on a call, maybe such as iBug Android Insight, or you might hear around, the Android water cooler, perhaps, hey, you should get a Pixel. Hey, you should get a Samsung. Hey, you should get a Sony. Like, why are we saying these things, right? Why are we even if there are mid-tier phones, which mid-tier phones are best? If I could ask the question to Shay, how do you like your phone, specifically as you mentioned A32 before in the past?
You have such a memory. I love my phone. I had a hard time getting used to not having the button at the bottom. But once you kind of get that, then it's okay. And it's been very, very reliable. Sometimes I want to get a new one just to have something fun and fancy, but I can't come up with I can't manufacture a reason to get rid of the phone because it works so well.
And that's the bottom line, right? If it works well enough for you, why do we need it? We are always getting marketed at, hey, this is the best thing ever. However, there is a kind of a line to draw in the sand. How I mean by this is certain devices that come from, let's say, Samsung. Samsung makes, I would say, the best screen compared to all the Android manufacturers. And then when it comes to something like even Sony's still in the game with phones, but they're just a little bit more expensive, right? They have some cool features, which I'll get to later if no one else has more conversation to say. But just these little companies where we get baffled by, hey, go buy this phone because it's the best thing ever. It's going to solve your problems. And then when we hear Miss Richard like, hey, my insurance told me to get this thing and it's not solving his problems. Mm-hmm. So just be really, really weary of if it doesn't sound norm in the public, or if heck, send us an email, right? iBug, IBUG, +, subscribe at groups.io. And hey, I'm at the store and there's this phone. Should I go buy this? I'm gonna go back next week and should I drop us an email in there, because again, it's difficult when someone's trying to reach you. You can't. There's emergencies and you can't get a hold of that person, and therefore, I personally have always maintained to say you should get a flagship phone, because flagship phones provide the longevity for one. And no one's given us the 7-year warranty or that kind of thing. I know Apple has had 5 years and support and stuff like that for their devices, but when we look at like now the Pixel 8 and some of these other phones, where do we go with this? So we just want to make sure that everyone's aware that when you do buy flagship, when you do buy the cheaper phones, what the differences are. So if that jogs up more questions, I heard somebody else speak there. If you want to go ahead and ask your question, feel free. I guess question ran away. Go ahead.
It's Dan.
Hey, Dan.
I think one of the things I've noticed, and I don't know how to address it, is when I've used Android, it's been for work. I am an accessibility tester, so I sort of feel like I dabble in it. I'm primarily an iOS user because of the Braille support, but in my last job, they needed someone. When I first started working there, they needed someone to test their application, and the people where I worked did not know Android, so they panicked. So they were so ecstatic that I knew how to use TalkBack, and so they sent me the phone I recommended, a Pixel 4, and that worked. But then when the job ended, I had to give it up. But it always occurs to me that I think more people would use Android if there was more training. And I know iBug does training. Have you ever thought about doing Android training for people who are interested?
What my answer to that personally, and this is me personally, not iBug, send
Mm-hmm.
information to the list. If the need is there, then the
Okay.
need is there, right? Because the way I look at it, why do we
Yeah,
need people to learn iPhones? Well, the need is there. Everybody has iPhones.
it is. It
So
is.
we do have a mentor and mentee program for
Oh, you
iPhone
do?
users. Yeah, for iPhone users. However, for the limited user experiences, and I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
do get our quite a few people that come into this call. It's once a month as a call, but
Right.
we would love to dive into some of these processes.
Mm-hmm.
But the need and want needs to be there for for uppers
I
to
agree.
decide yes or why not. Um,
Yeah.
but you mentioned some good points there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to address is you mentioned they gave you a Pixel phone, and I didn't address this
Mm-hmm.
earlier, and I said Samsung do have better screens and such.
Right.
Whereas on Pixel, if you're a screen reader user, that's coming straight from the horse's mouth, right? And Google's
And that's
making
why I asked
pic
for it.
right. So if
Yeah.
for screen reader purposes and Braille input, Pixel does have Braille screen input. Uh,
Yeah.
that's what Apple calls it, but Braille input. So they do have those functionalities, and I see a lot of for the 2 years that I've been watching Google I/O, I've always seen Braille as the key feature that they announced there. So, you know, there is some solace to that. That if you do use Braille, if you use Braille displays, it's not like the before days, right? Google was an infant,
That's true.
or Android was an infant. So
But this,
being that infancies, we've kind of trudged along to a new place now with 14, Android 14. So carry on. You had more to say.
but what I'd be happier if they would support the new HID standard for Bluetooth, for the humanware, the displays, the Mantis and the Brilliant, but they'll
Right.
tell you to use it over USB. And I tried that and it works, but it's not very well. I had a uh, session with Be My Eyes, so I was juggling my iPhone with Be My Eyes and the Android phone and the Braille display, so they
Right.
could watch me use. And I wish I'd had a stand that day, but I couldn't find one. But anyway, I proved to them that the Braille input from the display was unbelievably slow. It would
Mm.
take 5 seconds for it to enter a character. And I just wonder when they're going to improve that. I mean, I wouldn't consider Android unless there was Bluetooth Braille support or good Bluetooth on newer displays. I mean, I've used an Android with my Focus display and it worked fine, but I don't want to have to use my.
Let's see if anybody else on the call has some insight on this. I know I heard Kevin and a couple
Yeah.
people. They're more familiar with Braille. So if this is how we run the call, by the way, Mr. Dan. If this is this your first time, by the way?
Oh no, I used to come. I used to come to the call sometimes, but I've been
Right.
away for a
No
long
worries.
time and just got distracted, and I thought
We
I'd
were
better
glad
try
you're
the
back
call
tonight,
again.
so that's all that
Oh,
matters
thank
to
you.
me. So
Yeah,
thank you for always coming back. And again, we need to
sure.
figure these things out. Where how can we teach
Yeah,
others, right? How can we learn from each other?
right.
And I really respect that. And if anybody would
Mhm.
know, anyone have any more information on how they go about using Braille displays or Braille with their newer, let's say, Pixel or Samsung phones or anything like that, I'll leave the stage open to you guys.
This is Richard.
Go ahead, Mr. Richard.
You mentioned that there was a delay. It took like 5 or so seconds to put a character in. I'm wondering if you have a setting for a time delay. when you're typing or you're pushing something, there's sometimes a time delay, and it's almost giving you the chance to say, oh, wait a minute, did I want that or did I not want that? I'm wondering if you have that time setting on there.
No, because when I would use a conventional keyboard, or if I would type on the screen, it would be instantaneous. So I didn't have a time delay.
To Mr. Dan, one thing I could mention to you, I mean, I know this is very little resource, but it is a resource, and you probably already have touch base with Google through Be My Eyes, as you slated. But for everyone else that may not know, but g.co/disability support, that will offer you a chance to get in touch with Google via email, phone, or through Be My Eyes.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You know, with more tickets, I know the HID thing is probably on their radar, because I remember with Mantis and the Chameleon, that was like the big brouhaha amongst things.
Oh yeah.
But here's my take on this, just to take it both ways. Take for what Google is with what Google is, and what other people are with other people are. Should humanware also help fix some of these issues?
I don't think so, because it's really not humanware's Google and Apple and Microsoft agreed to the standard. Everyone developed it. Everyone was okay with it. And then Google said they couldn't do it. So it's not humanware's fault. There's nothing where it's Google's fault. Google reneged. They said, no, we can't support this with our Bluetooth stack on our devices, even though they'd already agreed to the standard and said, this is great.
Right.
Not that Apple Braille support is perfect. There are problems there too, but at least you can use the Mantis and the Braille, and I've used both, and they work well.
And where I look at the overall perspective of all of this is, how do we solve these issues, right? Because there's always something new. I'm sure the Mantis and Chameleon are going to be old soon. So moving forward, or moving wherever we go, you know, how do we really give proper information, rather than, hey, this doesn't work on this thing and that thing. What doesn't work on this thing and that thing, right? Like,
actually, I think people have documented this extensively. It's not just, I mean,
but
I'm not in a position to go to Google now. I don't have an Android phone anymore, so it's kind of a moot point now.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I do know I only turn, I mean, I have a Mantis at work, connected it over USB-C. It does work. That was a push out, an update that they pushed out to TalkBack 13. But I'm a Braille reader, I'm a Braille user, but I do not use it enough to care whether it's over Bluetooth or USB-C. If I want Braille, I'll do whatever it takes to get the Braille. I also have the NLS reader that works with Android. I do know, or I believe, that it is the support is coming over Bluetooth, but I don't know. I mean, I think a lot more people need to call, maybe some people who don't even have an interest, but need to call to Google or file, because I don't think that enough people are Braille display users. And I don't think, because it seems like the only people that are complaining are people that are not Android users anyway, like the Jonathan Mosens and stuff like that, that are just, seems like it kind of comes off as picking, but the actual users are not filing enough, I guess, complaints or filing enough tickets for them to, because there's certainly a lot of other things that people have, complained about or asked about that they fixed in sometimes days. And so it's something that Google, I mean, they know software, and if it's something that if they really wanted to push out the fix, they did it for the USB support, USB-C support, so they should be able to push it out for the Bluetooth support.
Well,
They're pushing out
yeah.
lossless audio um,
Hmm.
to the USB, and they're doing other stuff. So I think that
I think,
enough of us
yeah.
who don't even use it just need to call in and say, hey, push this out so
Well,
that they
I,
will, I guess.
another issue though is that it's mainly the issue that the reason the Android users aren't necessarily filing bug reports is that the people that rely heavily on Braille aren't Android users because it's sort of a chicken and egg situation. I mean, people who would be in a position to file a bug report don't want to use Android because what they've found when they tested a device. Now, I'm not a regular Android user now, but I know over the years in two different accessibility testing jobs, I filed bug reports and you know, never got any update on them. Although that's happened with me with Apple too. I mean, it's rare that I think I only had one case with Apple where they followed up on a bug report with me for months, but that's rare. Um, but
I do
Yes.
know that the Bluetooth, I mean, the Braille display over the HID, I mean, I don't know who all can, um, afford a Mantis or whatever. Like, if I didn't have one at work,
yeah,
I wouldn't have one at all. But I do think that it's going to take more of us who don't even use it to
hmm,
move it up to more of a priority. I think that
yeah,
more of their focus has been placed on things that people are using every day, like Lookout and all this other stuff. They're pushing features to
hmm.
all kinds of other apps, but it doesn't seem like um, it just seems like it would just be a couple of lines of code or something that they can just turn it on
It's
off.
also an issue that there are people in Europe there. I'm on the Android list, and there's this guy in the UK named Steve Nutt who seems to have the attitude that because Braille support works with the Braille displays he uses, therefore it's good. But there's so much variability with Braille support uh, with Android in a way there isn't with iOS. Like if I use my Focus with Braille, it works very well. Any older display will work well. It's just the newer displays, and I think that new HID standard is going to be the default because people are not wanting to have to install Braille drivers just to use a Braille display with a Windows screen reader. I mean, that's the beauty of this new standard. Um, and I think that's going to be the default. Um, Although, to be fair, Apple's Braille support has become problematic lately, too. I mean, it's not, I've had all kinds of problems with iOS 17. So it's not like
I don't
Apple's.
know. I don't know if it has the HID standard or not, but I have had
Actually, it does, because
a
it
lot of
does.
trouble getting my Mantis to pair with my Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Which
So I
screen
have
reader?
not
Hmm.
used JAWS. I've used Narrator,
Okay.
um, and it
Uh,
shows up as a
mhm,
device, but it never. But if I plug it in, then it works. But I just
mhm.
have had so
Oh,
much
that's
trouble.
there's JAWS. There's a checkbox somewhere. I mean, that is an issue with JAWS with any Bluetooth display, even the older ones. There's a switch, and I can't remember where it is. It's detect Bluetooth, but there's something else you have to do where when you start JAWS, it sees it as a Bluetooth display, and that
Right.
I can't remember where, but I know I've had troubles if I had a display defined to JAWS on the computer, the same computer over USB and Bluetooth. That Bluetooth often didn't work.
Yeah, and with all of these, with whatever's coming out on the table, right? Because for Braille displays, you have what, two companies, three companies, if that.
More.
And
Well,
I'm just saying the populous one. So between the popular ones and everything else, like it's going to take us some time to get everybody on the right page. But for example, I'm a low vision user. I would love to learn Braille. I'm trying to learn Braille and everything else in between.
mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't mind reporting for you guys that are Braille users, right? Because that's Kevin's point is to the fact that we might be
Yeah,
using different tools, and not
right.
we're all talking. Not we might talk at the cooler about, oh man, they didn't do the HID thing, but we're not
Mm-hmm.
telling the main ship. So I think that
Yeah.
could alleviate a lot. And meantime,
Mm-hmm.
if you have more questions about even the talkback side or anything else that you want to know about modern day, feel free to ask away. But if we could, I'm going to let open up the stage again and see if anybody else has any talks or concerns.
This is Kenny.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Yes, I wanted to know what it would with the, I guess the new Pixel 8 Pro and Android 14 in general. They're getting rid of 32-bit stuff, old apps. What voices are y'all using for the Android 14 for the TalkBack?
Anybody have an answer for Mr. Kenny? What kind of TTS text-to-speech engine are you using for your Pixel 8?
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I mean, everybody has their choices. People use acapella, some people use vocalizer, but from what the demonstration, the unboxing that Warren did on blind Android users, it's using the Google high quality text to speech voices. I'm running the Android beta and I cannot get those voices anymore on my Pixel 6 Pro, so I'm not sure. But I'm guessing that when I get my 8 Pro that it'll have those voices available, but I think you can still use voice um, vocalizer and then acapella, but I don't know about the different supports stuff. I saw a little piece about that, but I don't know what the use case is going to be.
Yes, this is Hershey, and just to second that with Kevin, I tend to use Vocalizer more so than anything. Once in a while, I will jump back onto Google Speech Synthesizer by Google, I think it says now, and both of them have worked out pretty decently. And I have a Samsung phone. Samsung's doesn't sound terrible, but Vocalizer just gives you your classic Ava, Tom, Samantha, blah blah blah. The same voices we're all probably used to with what JAWS offers or what some of the Apple voices are. But yeah, acapella, and I've heard some other ones in the grapevine, but trust is the biggest issue for me. Is like I'd rather go mainstream rather than try a new company out and then there goes all your data. So
One more, I don't know if it's a tip. Went to order the Pixel Pro 8 with the headphone earbuds, the Pro earbuds, but they didn't have the watch in stock. And turns out they didn't have the phone in stock. So I contacted Google customer service, and they said they will honor. I picked the blue Pixel buds, and they said they will honor the deal because I did order on the day. They can go back in your thing and see what you did, and I just have to show them the order, and they'll refund me for the Pixel Buds Pro.
not a bad deal.
And that was the bay blue I was looking to get for the phone.
Yeah, Bay Blue phone, Bay Blue headphones, not a bad deal.
And the blue phone.
Yep, that's awesome. Anyone else wants to ask questions, concerns, maybe about the Pixels since we're on the Pixels? quiet night tonight, I suppose, but that's fine. With the fact that I know we got uh, Android 14 coming out. One thing I just wanted to kind of give a quick glimmer, and I was messing around with it. Right now, I'm on a different camera that I'm streaming from. But if and when, and this is again getting back in touch with Google to say, hey, this doesn't work for the blind person or the low vision person or screen reader user. The Pixel 6 that I have next to me here is Pixel 6 Pro, and it's running Android 14. So therefore, if I plug in my phone, if I go to my phone and then go under where it says USB connector or whatever in the notification, when I tap on that, I could actually go and make my phone act like a webcam. Maybe this is cool, but maybe if we could get it to be more beefed up along the way, because again, this is just a feature that they just released. But where I look at it this way, if we could get it to have guided narration, like they do for photos, the Android 14 touted that during the launch event, and even Made by Google has dropped a couple of videos if you wanted to go check out Made by Google's YouTube channel. And one of them was from Lachi that was taking a bunch of pictures, but she was also blind. And so she's using the guided narration or guided framing to know how many people are in the frame or what have you, and take good pictures. Now, again, this is this little meeting I'm doing here. If I could get my Pixel phone to act like a webcam, and if it's hooked up to my Bluetooth keyboard, and I could zoom in and zoom out and have some cool things like that, I think that's a game changer. Reason why is, heck, everybody has YouTube they want to be creating videos and helping others, right? Well, what about if you had a webcam and a phone? Well, with your phone, you could have it right in your stream or in your meeting on Zoom, and you have another tool. And if that tool is going to be more descriptive, like how Google Lookout Explore Mode is, or any of that kind of like the guided framing, I think it could be a feature. I know it's for some that are totally like no vision to some that have partial vision. We all need to look professional. We all need to sound professional. And if these phones are going to enable us to have a cool video, and then we could, delete the background sounds that annoy us in that video, and then you put it up on your channel or what have you. I think all of these little processes give us a standing chance in society, and it helps us learn, right? It helps us learn from each other. We can provide information about accessibility. We could start making videos on talkback stuff. And thanks also to mention blind Android users. Warren, I forgot to message him today, but he usually does drop by, and we all want to kind of work together as a team. I know on Facebook, I'm on there sometimes, and there are groups there too where if you have any kind of questions or need to reach out to people, I've seen Kevin numerous times helping out people just because of the questions that are thrown out there. And again, if you send us a blank email, ibug Android Insight plus subscribe at groups.io, we'll definitely try to do the legwork for you. Or if you have an older phone, like I have a Note 9 that has voice assistant, well, I've emailed people how to use voice assistant because I wrote up a tutorial. In today's days, we're all using this new Pixel phone or the new Android TalkBack, right? Google's TalkBack. So things are different, but again, hopefully that conjures up more questions or thoughts from you guys.
This is Richard.
Go ahead, Mr. Richard.
And speaking of the accessibilities, like you had mentioned, where you have next to no vision, which is me with the RP, retina type pigment. I ain't even going to try to say that whole word. Yeah, so I ain't even trying to say that whole word. So I got next to nothing. I have to rely on audio. I have to rely on the phone to talk no matter what, because I'm not going to be able to see it. And that is another issue this particular Android has, the shock volt. I mean, it doesn't have the Hey Google accessibility like that. So if I'm stuck trying to find something, which it does talk to me, touching the screen, which that's another issue. I can be touching the screen and it takes forever for the thing to finally register. It vibrates, saying that I'm on something, but then it takes forever to finally say what it's on. Now, it has the Hey Google feature, but I have to go to a app that says Google Go or a Go Google or something like that. I have to go to that and click that in. Then I have to find where it says talk to me or the microphone and double tap that to finally say what I want to say for it to look for, instead of just saying, hey, Google, right off the back and it registering.
Yeah, Miss Richard, I mean, for you specifically, I just would hope maybe if we could find some kind of servicing for you up there in New York, we should get you on just a more reliable phone. I mean, you've come in here with some great questions. Don't, by any means, not trying to negate that, but it's just difficult when we're running with older devices, and then with that device in itself, it's using probably a streamlined version of Android. So when you throw screen readers and everything else on top, they get squeamish, right? They start to not act or work as fast as they can, just like as you've described it. So perhaps maybe send a message on the list. Maybe we could try to see what kind of connections or agencies we have up there in New York. Maybe, you never know. At least to see if we get people on a better track with some of these phones. And then I've already tried to get a hold of some of these companies like Spectrum and stuff to say, hey, stop giving my friends A11, A12, A13, 15, whatever phones. They're not working for them, right? They work to a certain degree, but there's a bottleneck. And if not a bottleneck, one feature is missing, like Bixby is missing on 11 and whatever. So just as, buyer beware, so to speak, and it'll give you more functionality through the norm, right? Because that doesn't shine the correct light on Android, because that's not part of what Android is, right? That Android 11 is old in that sense, because we are at 14 at the current. And so for people to recycle phones like that and then re-engage them with people that have vision loss or the elderly, I don't agree with that. So we'll try to work through that, Mr. Richard. And I always appreciate that you come by and give us those questions or another perspective, especially.
Yeah, and see what you had mentioned with going through the providers like Spectrum and there's Optimum and so forth. Optimum owns this area, but where I get my phones from and how I get my phones is because I have a very low income. I'm next to broke, so mine is through an insurance.
Correct.
And all insurance, because of being on it for so long now, I have realized they're pretty much all the same with their policies. And
gotcha.
Going through the argument with this phone when it was sent to me, and I found out I'm not the only one that is complaining about this phone because others are on my insurance. Anyway, the end result is when our insurance gets new phones in, a great chance is being, regardless, we're going to have to pay for the new phone.
Right. And to take your story just real quick, and I heard someone else in between, but just give you a quick glimmer. My instructor out here locally, and person has a phone, blah, blah, blah. But it's that versioning of phone, half the features are missing, right? Half of the features that the instructor was trying to teach. So Dan is an instructor, as I gauge from here, or tester. But, as we're all on this call, we're all trying to show something, and then when that one thing is missing, then all of a sudden it's not the same, right? We talked about Braille for quite some time there, and it's an important topic. It's an important thing, the HID and all of that. But the grand scheme of things is one device may have it, one device may not have it, one person might have a different visual acuity. So there are a lot of factors. But I do thank you again, Mr. Richard. And I heard another woman's voice, perhaps, or someone wanted to say something.
Hello.
This is Kenny. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is Katrisa. I found out when I activate Google, Hey Google, instead of waiting, you know how you wait till after the da-dum and then speak.
Right.
What I do is I just say, "Hey Google, what's my name?" And I just say it like that, and it'll go on ahead and answer me. So, because I had a problem where when I activate Google and then wait till the da it'll start talking da 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 da. And sometimes when I ask it something, it'll repeat what I said and keep repeating it and keep repeating it and keep repeating it and won't stop until I move something or move my hand or move my finger on the thing, and it'll stop then. But I found out if you just go on ahead and ask the question before the da it won't do that. It'll cooperate with you better. Sometimes it may miss what you have to say, and you may have to go and tap voice search. And I got Bixby, and Bixby does the same thing. You don't have to wait to the da and say what you got to say. Just go ahead and say it, and it'll pick it up. Thank you.
Excellent tip. Excellent tip. Thank you. And
This is
go
Kenny.
ahead, Kenny. Go ahead, Kenny.
I just want to know, has anybody tried the latest Google Lookout? And if so, what do y'all think about it?
This is Kevin.
Go ahead, Kevin.
That was one of the things that I was going to bring up. One of the topics. I really like the new Google Lookout, but I would encourage people to use um, the new images mode as much as you can and provide a lot of feedback so that they can incorporate more of the BARD features to compare what kind of results you get using the Google Lookout images mode versus what you get if you put an image through BARD. But I really like it. I was part of the beta test for it. The only thing that is a little bit of a problem, and there's been some other Facebook posts about this, and Apple is doing it, and Google is doing it, and Facebook is doing it, but in the name of, I don't know, privacy or whatever, but they don't include a lot of the details like gender or race or person's name, or there's just some things that I just kept making requests for them to include that people would want to know about a picture. Maybe you're trying to figure out if it's you or somebody else, or but there's just some information that to me seems like it would be helpful, but they don't want to be offensive or I guess they're trying to be politically correct, but it seems like it's only companies like Facebook or Google or Apple that are doing this, and people are ranting about it on Facebook, but I don't think it's doing any good. But as far as the descriptions, and it's the only accessible color identifier that I have. Like I can trust the colors. I've done it through
This is big
Google
news.
Lookout and then
Breaking
called
news.
Ira,
What?
and then they would tell me same color that Lookout told me.
And this is Google Lookout. And how are you waking color identifier or whatever?
I just take a picture of a shirt or a sweater or something like that, or pants, and then I'll put it, and then I'll put that through the image describer or whatever it's called, images mode.
Correct.
And then it'll tell me, red sweater, or if it doesn't see enough of it, it'll just say blue cloth or whatever. And then you can ask it other stuff like, is there writing? So you can ask it questions now. Right. This is the feature that they've pushed out to iOS and Be My Eyes, but they're still delaying it on Android for some reason. So since they're playing that game, just only look out when it comes to Be My Eyes, your boycott. But anyway, but yeah, you can ask it questions and provide feedback about the answers that you get the way you can on Bard. Really great.
And here, this is Hershey again. I look at this 10 year, let's project it. What is it going to be better down the road? So looking at the colors of your pants or color this, or knowing if even if you're doing a live video, what about if Lookout could know exactly what you're wearing or if you're centered, right? Because they got the webcam feature, and if they add all of these little things that solve problems, right? Because that's what software people do. They solve problems, I suppose. And yeah, so I didn't know that it with color identifier is pretty accurate, but awesome. I mean, I could here shortly take a picture of me and let you guys hear it, see what it says. But thank you for that, Kevin.
You can take a picture of like your room or your space that you're in, and it'll tell you where things are. Like it'll say there's a plate to the right,
Hmm.
and it'll tell you if it knows like what items are in the plate or your monitor is in front to the left. And so like you can take a picture of a whole scene and it'll just tell you.
Right. And I think in all of this being uh, more connected to Google and letting them know how we're going to use it is going to help us because I've seen everybody wow about Be My Eyes' version of BAI or whatever they call it. And one thing I wanted to ask Kevin, maybe you have an answer to this, is between photos like Google Photos and pictures and stuff, do you all label your stuff or?
That's the one feature that I've been asking about forever, and they will not add that. They keep it's an open case that I have that
Because
with
I mean, if you
them.
get description from images, copy, paste, triple tap twice
Yeah,
on your screen,
I mean you
copy.
can put it in the alt text part or whatever, but it
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
show up when you're flipping through your photos. You don't get to see that until you.
Hmm. I think Kevin and I and the rest of this game, we got some emailing to do. Just saying.
You can rename it if you put the photo in Google Drive. You can rename it,
Okay.
but it doesn't. You can't do anything in photo. I want to be able to name it as soon as I take the picture, so I will
Precisely.
know what it is the next
And then
time.
you know if it's you, if it's your dog, or if it's whatever it is, you know what you're looking at. Hmm. Interesting. Well, any more questions, thoughts, concerns? Feel free, guys. This is your call.
This is Richard. Just to
Go
be
ahead.
clear with that picture that you're talking about taking, I hope I'm on the same page. When you're taking the picture, you're on it and you take the picture. What you're talking about is right then and there after you take the picture, you want to edit it right then and there of what it was you were, and that's not available.
Right, like in the Samsung voice recorder, or in well, you have to go in and tell it you're going to rename it in Pixel Recorder. But in the Samsung voice recorder, like as soon as you hit stop or whatever, it asks you if you want to save it and it gives you a place to put the name. So I want the same thing to happen in Google Photos or Samsung Gallery or whatever. Um, or even if you want to come back later and put a name there once you have a description. But there's no way to do that. There's a way that you can put in a description of the photo or description, photo details, but that doesn't show up as you're flipping through your photo.
That's why I couldn't find that, because I was trying to think of that too. Like, wait a minute, if I just take the picture and I just took it, it's still there, but can I name? And because it does do that, and it does say name, description, but it's actually in the photo area, and I'm like, there's already 4 or 5 pictures. Which one am I on? So how
Yeah,
can I name it if I don't know if that's so? That's why I couldn't find that when I immediately took the picture. I can't do anything of describing it, picture it, name it, whatever, because it's not available.
only if you pull it into Google Drive, or you used to could rename it in files, Google Files, but I don't even know if that feature is available anymore. Um,
Mm.
Well, thanks for the insight, guys. Appreciate that. Any more thoughts, questions, concerns? Sorry we don't have Miss Ava on tonight because she answers my Amazon questions. But feel free to ask any Android questions.
what is that relationship between Windows and the Android store? There's some kind of option in Windows you can run with Android apps. I thought I read something called the second system, or there's some option in Windows you have to enable.
Interesting. Second system. This is Hershey, by the way. I
Yeah,
specifically have not heard about the second system part, but um, again, what are we gonna do? These companies will
yeah,
make their choices and make what they're gonna
right.
make. But Amazon and Microsoft both thought it was smart that if we partner up, we'll have the best app store, and that
Mm,
app store has what, the Kindle app. Any others?
yeah.
I could count with my five fingers probably how many apps it has, and
Mm,
books, right? And this is where I feel like accessibility gets destroyed because yes, Amazon did take Android 5.0 and then they built everything on top, and yes, that's what the Android TV and Fire Sticks and Voice View and all of that stuff. All the great voices that you hear on Amazon, those are all Ivona voices. So yeah, they took it
oh,
from Android.
really?
Yeah, they took it from Android, and
Oh.
there goes all your voices. So blame them, not me. Just kidding,
Hmm.
just kidding. But just in that retrospect, it's like Amazon came in doing these things, and then now we look at the Fire Stick. We look at their tablet. They have Braille input in their tablets too. Their tablets are fairly
Yeah.
cheaper, the 11th, whatever, Amazon Fire 11 or something. But why are we fracturing what we already have? Right? We keep fracturing it more and more, and then Samsung comes in and does their thing, and then everyone's, oh well, Samsung's got TalkBack that comes late, and Pixel comes with first. And so again, we are always doing these little fragmentation moves, so to speak.
Yeah. It doesn't help anybody.
Doesn't help anyone, and then like especially
Yeah.
instructors like yourself or anyone else, like, hey, I learned this once upon a time, and it's old news. It doesn't fit in the. It's not valid anymore.
Yeah.
So you know, again, the connectivity from Microsoft, Samsung also does DeX. So if you have Samsung DeX, I haven't lately tried it with JAWS and Android, but you could pretty much
Mm.
use your computer on your Windows machine or your phone on your Windows machine like that. Um, and then
An
there
Android
is
phone.
an Android phone, correct? And then there's
Yeah.
also PC Link, and with PC
Mm.
Link, they've made that better and better straight from Microsoft's side. So if you're trying to get your Android phone hooked up to your computer and multitask,
Mm.
and you're at work, but you also got other work on your phone, then that's one way to get multitask enabled. So PC Link, Dex, and
Mm.
with the fact that they have the store now with Amazon partnership, I guess there's that. But that's if you're trying to use Linux on your. That's how I understood it, right? So Linux sub
Mm.
what SBL or something, sub Linux, and so that's not necessarily related to Android per se or our platform per se.
Right.
It's Linux is in its own, even though Linux based phones, etc. But uh, they're kind of different, but you might look into if you wanted to test it with a Samsung or if anyone knows about it
Mm.
with like Dex or PC Link. And that should connect either to Pixel or Samsung phones pretty seamlessly
Mm.
to Windows. So it has gotten better to give you that kind of update from previous times.
This is Kevin.
Go ahead.
The idea is that the if they have the Windows Store, the idea is that with Windows 11 you can run any app, any Android app from the Amazon store. So in theory, some of the apps that work that should be accessible on the Fire tablet would be accessible. Um, but I don't think that accessibility is what they had in mind. But it just gives you access to a lot more apps, just in case the developers are not developing the Windows apps fast enough.
Mm.
Instead of going to the Google Play Store, they made it just like they're putting Alexa on a lot of Windows machines. So they went with Alexa first, or the Amazon App Store first, which is kind of interesting since they have the Duo or whatever it's called, and it runs regular Android. So I don't know why they didn't make it operate with the Play Store instead of the Amazon App Store. But you're supposed to just be able to run any app that's in the Amazon App Store on Windows 11.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Good question, though. Thank you. All right. Anyone else want to go off on a new topic, thought, want to know about something?
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm over here trying to figure out this picture thing. Let me plug.
I think sometime it would be nice to talk about um, Chrome OS. I every once in a while, I think I would love to test a Chromebook with one of my Braille displays. I don't have one.
Mhm.
Uh, I
There's
always like to
definitely
play with any device out there.
right.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, this is Hershey. Did you end up ever getting the tablet?
The Pixel tablet,
Yes. Sorry, should have
I'm
been.
getting one as part of the trusted tester group. That's what I just ordered yesterday.
Hmm. I have never been successful at getting into that program. I have filled out forms and never been selected.
Well, it took me several times before.
Oh, okay.
Same. Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming, so we'll see. And I have a Chromebook, but I have a Pixel book. That's the first item I got, and I have not tested it at work or at home with a Braille display. I've seen it with a Braille display when I went to the ATIA conference.
Mm.
So I'm gonna get to meet Kevin in person soon. What?
I don't know
It's
if
coming
they'll
up.
send me
It's
this year,
coming
but
up.
that's where I first saw the Braille support. I think they were using the Braille TTY.
I've
That's what
used
they were
that.
using.
That does work. That worked with the Pixel phone. I installed it, although I got an error when I tried updating it. And I think I may have installed it incorrectly. I thought, well, maybe I need to delete it and install it a different. I don't remember if I installed it from the Play Store and they wanted me to install it as a package rather than downloading the app, download the package
I think that was
from a
correct. Yeah, some
website.
kind of APK. And, that
Yeah, and I think I
sounds
installed it incorrectly and then I got distracted by other things and just said, forget it. I'll just.
right.
This is Kenny.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Have y'all heard that if you unroot your Pixel 8 and run a command, you can use your Pixel as or you can hook it up to a display. There we go. Via USB-C.
A Braille display? Or do you mean a monitor?
A monitor. A monitor.
Oh, wow. That could be
There are
useful for a
people
lot
that
of
are doing
people.
that, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be coming to Android if it's not already. Android 14 natively. You won't
Hmm.
have to run any kind of command, or that's coming to Android 14 native. That might be the feature drop in
Nice.
September.
That's a good idea.
I mean, I know that I mentioned earlier webcam. This is Hershey. Sorry about that. But the webcam feature, there were a few choices in that list. PPT, MIDI, webcam. So I don't know if it's using the same uh, structure, so to speak, to if you plugged it into a monitor same way and transfer back and forth. So again, yeah, as Kevin said, I don't know if the feature is already in there, or I think what's happening with Android 14, we're all kind of diving in and finding little gems here and there. So I'm sure we'll have more to discuss later on, but I really found the webcam thing to be useful.
Hmm.
I mean, having TalkBack on it, there was Zoom 1, Zoom 2, and front camera. That's all it kept on saying. So if we could get it to be more verbose, or if I could literally have it zoom in at Zoom 3x, and then if someone tells me, yeah, you're in frame, I got a webcam that works. And, it's for the sighted folks, right? We want to, we're all professional. We are all smart. And we just want to ensure that what we say and do kind of aligns with the world, right? Because we're always fighting for features, fighting for needs. So looking professional, sounding good, I think for anybody, for any work that you do, really, really important. And, some of these devices are giving us that stuff. Kevin takes a picture of himself. Okay, cool. He's dapper with his outfit on. He has a red shirt on with black slacks or whatever. It's going to let people know that piece of information. And you might remember that description of somebody just maybe as you watched, some of these audio described events, and that fills in those gaps because when you might meet that person in real life, you're like, oh, that's who you are, because audio description helps you, or any kind of descriptive aspects that we add to ourselves. It always gives us a upper edge to this. So
Yeah. One thing about Android I do like is the fact that when you update a phone, you get all the information until it really needs to turn off. And then it's like there's no doubt, unlike iOS where it starts updating and you have no idea what's happening.
yes, and you could also download apps through a website. So let's say you're on your computer and you're at work and you're trying to update your phone and it's sitting over there on the other side. You could go on play.google.com, type in your login, type in that app name, hit install, pick up your phone when you're off work. Everything is good to go.
Well, I had to do that at my first accessibility job because we had to use a private app store. So we would have to download packages to the phone and then go into the downloads folder and double tap to install the package.
Correct.
I don't know if you can do that with iOS. I don't think so. Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. You can do it's different. Never mind. It's totally. There's test flight, which is.
All right, so I have my phone hooked up. Let's see what happens here. Come on.
I like some of the Google text-to-speech voices for foreign languages better than iOS. I've tested things in German, and I love the Google German TTS that I've used.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've liked, me personally, I've liked even Australian English and stuff. The pronunciations and things just feel more up to par. But I'm a foreigner by trade anyway, so maybe I could understand it.
Oh, really?
Well, originally from Africa, so in that sense, from Zambia originally. But
okay.
when we look at some of these devices, I look at the world, right? I answer by the world because people in Africa, India, UK, we have to look at it in the global aspect of what's available out there. Xiaomi is a brand that's out there. We don't get half of the brands that we do here. Huawei was a brand, blah blah blah, and then Amazon goes off and takes Ivona and takes this and that. So we were left with what we were left with. So we could just hope to make this better, and I think it'll get there.
I think so. What I'm excited, and we haven't seen it yet, but there's talk of research with new types of haptic technology called MEMS, MEMS. I forget what the acronym stands for, but what that does is you actually feel sensations, and it would be like having a graphics display where you'd feel, a button where the button would be virtual, and people are working on that, not for the blind necessarily, but for other people so they don't have to actually necessarily make a physical button for a device. Someone at T-Mobile was telling me about that. And if that technology ever came to phones and became practical, that would really open up a lot of possibilities. I mean, think about being able to feel an image or something. I think that would be wonderful. I don't know if it'll ever happen.
I think we're on the cusp of, again, different technologies, right?
Yes,
Every
very
year has
much.
been like this year's an AI year, so let's wring
Hmm.
out that AI as much as we can for our
Yep.
goodness sakes. Because if we don't, then it's just going to
Hmm.
keep on going, and then we're going to be left behind again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with AI, I think that's kind of the cusp of it. And then with, as you mentioned, the haptics and things,
Hmm.
I really find that really interesting because we've used haptics for quite some time on Android phones.
We have.
And then,
Yeah.
and then Apple's like, oh, we have haptics now, and then oh, we don't have it. Some people don't
Oh,
like it anymore, right? They turn it off. But again, these are the similarities and differences. And then like I remember when
yeah.
the S22 came out, the haptic engine was a little bit lighter. It wasn't as heavy in your hand, whereas my Note 9 is
Hmm.
like vibrates the heck out of your hand. But I guess it's a little bit of feedback, and what I've seen personally is like Samsung will copy most things Apple does in the way of mannerisms.
Hmm.
Pixel tries to put out details and information that help everybody, but
Hmm.
they might be slightly slow, but Samsung's definitely done a better job with some of that stuff. So that's why I kind of call them they copy Apple
Yeah.
because they're trying to be similar. So
Well, I know I tested a device. I forget what it was called that someone at Northwestern University built. It was a kind of tactile array that you bolted onto a Kindle Fire, and it did display graphics, but they were very primitive, and it was very hard to. But it was a step in that direction. And I know Google had an app for a brief time to use the phone haptics called Kickback, but it didn't stay in the App Store that long. That was about 10 years ago.
So
So,
by the way, I did get my phone installed and it's coming through. Just give me a quick second here if you want me to.
that's okay.
We'll talk more about. Let me see if
Yeah, I'm
I
not in
can.
a hurry. But if you need to go, that's fine too, you know.
We're here till 30 past the hour, but here's
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
we have
Button
the.
ratio 4:3.
Okay, are y'all hearing kind of the screen
One face,
reader?
bottom. Email. Google Assistant. Button.
Yeah.
No button.
Okay,
Motion photos.
perfect.
On. One face.
So
lower left.
I'm gonna
No
flip the
faces.
camera
Wide
around.
angle. Button. Two faces focused on face to the right. One face left.
Okay,
One
there's
face.
one
Bottom.
face.
Two faces focused on
I don't
face
know
to
why
the
there's
right.
two
One
faces,
face
but
lower left. Two faces focused on face to
Because
the
it's schizophrenic.
right. Slider. Photo. Mode. One face. Normal angle. Button. Wide angle. Button. Button. Effects. New button. Motion photos. Button. Ratio 4 by. Button. Timer. Off. Button. Flash. Off. Button. Go to settings. Two faces. Focus. Button. Switch to rear camera. Two faces focused on face to the right. Switch to front camera. One face. Lower left.
Okay, so
Photo mode. Rear camera.
what it was
One
doing
face. Center.
is probably
Processing
seeing
requests.
images or it's
There are
probably
device
seeing
manager
stuff off
requests
the
for processing.
screen.
One face. Right.
So
One face.
Mhm.
Center.
I
One face.
was
Left.
now I'm definitely in the.
One
Here,
button.
I'm gonna take
Take
out my. Here, take that. Come back.
Refining picture.
Okay, let's see.
One face. Button. View pictures and videos. Button. Take picture. One face. Left. Refining picture.
I
One
took the
face. Left.
picture
No faces.
and I'm going to go there.
Are you talking on the
Button.
same
View
phone
pictures
you're
and videos.
using to
Nope.
Gallery.
do
Button.
I have the
pictures?
phone
October 18th,
and I have other.
2023, 9:18 p.m.
Let's see.
Image JPEG.
Yep, that's the one. So
Film strip 1 of 552,
we'll go to
October 8th.
share.
Film strip 2 of 5. Film strip 3 of 5.
Nope.
Film strip films button. October 18th, 2023, 9:18 p.m. Image
Okay, open that
Hmm.
and
button. Off button. Turn off. Button. Watch later.
So, are you in the meeting on a computer?
yes.
Camera.
Oh,
Button.
okay.
Photos,
So you have
mode.
your
Real
computer.
camera.
Okay.
View.
Yes.
Button.
So
View pictures and
I'm
videos.
Yeah.
No faces.
go there.
Gallery. Button. Navigate up.
Wow.
Button. October 18th, 2023.
And
Button. October
if I
18th.
could find share, it'll help.
Button. October 18th.
Hmm.
Button. October 18th. Button. October 18th. Button. October 18th. Button. October 18th. 2023.
Yes, that's the picture.
Button. October 18th. Button. Share.
There it is. Okay.
Page.
Hmm.
Share.
So
Checkbox.
we go to
October
share
18th. Bill SCVI Gene Discord.
and
Drive. Keep notes. Outlook. Skype. More.
we'll go
Share.
more.
Google. Search image. Pinup. Rose. Photos. Upload. Pinup. One step reader. OneDrive. Microsoft 3. Maps. Add to map. LinkedIn. Column 1.
One thing I'm doing here, I'm going backwards. If you notice, it is alphabetical. So
Maps.
I heard
Add to maps.
pen
Column
and
2.
stuff, so L is before P.
Mhm.
LinkedIn. Column 1.
So LinkedIn,
Lens. Row 4.
lens.
Maps. Add to map. LinkedIn. Column. Lens. Row 4. Maps. Add.
Trying to look for
LinkedIn.
lookout.
Column 1. Maps. Add to maps.
Where'd lookout go?
Messages. Row 3. Adobe Acrobat. Bixby Vision. Bluetooth. Chat. Row 4. Envision AI. Litter Scanner. Lens. Column 4. LinkedIn. Row. Maps. Add to Microsoft 3. OneDrive. One Step Reader. Pinup. Column. Photos. Up. Picture this. Print. Row set. Private share. Reader. Column. Reminder. Column. Samsung Notes. Show on TV. Stack. Column. SuperSense. Column. Zoom. Send to Zoom. Checkbox. October 18th. Checkbox. October 18th. Checkbox. October 18th. Checkbox. Samsung Notes. Row. Show on TV.
Okay,
Picture this. Row 6. Showing chat. Row 4.
Let's go
Bluetooth.
another
Bixby.
way now.
Adobe Messages. Meet. Row 2. Lookout. Voice. Lookout. Column 3. Recent media item details. Button. Close details. Out of grid. Close. Analyzing image. Recent media item details. Button. Close details. Button. Speak
That was
question.
quick.
Speaker question in English. Button. Close. Button. Back. Showing items 1 to 3 of 3. What color is my shirt? 2 of 3. In list. 3. Edit box. Type your question in English. Out of list. The shirt is black. 3 of 3. In list.
Okay,
3
so
items.
it called my shirt black in the image that I just took,
Mhm.
which it could be right. I think it's black or it's navy blue.
Hmm.
But
What color is my? In this picture we can see the table and there is a laptop, wires, microphones, electronic board, a keyboard, light on the table, 1 of 3.
so another picture, it's whatever. So like, I have a couple pictures that I.
Checkbox. Like response. Not checked. In this picture we can see the table and there is a laptop, wires, microphones.
So that's probably
electronic
the
board,
first
a
picture
keyboard,
that I
light
try
on
to
the table.
take. Whenever I was trying to switch the rear camera to the front camera part. So that kind of gives you an understanding. So we could ask more about it.
Edit box. Type your question in English. Out of list. Showing English.
What
US,
else is on the
quoting.
table? Let's see.
0. Voice input.
If I want to dictate, what else is on my table?
Voice input stop. Done. Edit box. Type your question in English. Disabled. Keyboard hidden. The laptop is on. The laptop is on. 5 of 5. In list. Checkbox. Dislike response. Not checked. The laptop is on.
Okay, so it doesn't give me the direction on it.
Checkbox. Dislike. Checkbox. Like response. Not checked. Edit box. Type your question in English. Checkbox.
But
like response. Checkbox. Dislike response.
I think
The
it
laptop is
started
on.
to tell me it's
What
on
else
the
is on?
left or
4 of 5.
right or.
The laptop. Checkbox. Like response. Not checked. Thanks for your feedback. Not checked. The laptop is on. 5 of 5. Checkbox. Dislike response. Not
Okay,
checked.
let's
Thanks for your
dislike
feedback.
that.
It will help. Checkbox. Like response. Not edit box. Type your question in English. Out of list. Edit box. Type
And then if
button,
you wanted
close
to know more
the-
about
checkbox,
Lookout,
button,
I
preview,
mean,
gallery.
let's
Button.
see.
October 18th. Button. Edit. Home.
What
Envision
type
AI
of
lookout.
Go ahead.
Lookout images mode.
what
Button.
type of
Select mode. Out of page.
okay? What type of software
Processing
are you
costs.
using then?
Mode.
I'm using a Samsung S22.
So what are you're asking it? Where's the table or something?
Yeah, so what I did there, apologize, I didn't mention it properly. So we talked about it earlier, and Kevin mentioned he takes a picture of himself to figure out what color shirt he's wearing or whatever. So I had the phone flipped around, and then I forgot that I had it in front-facing camera rather than rear-facing. So then I flipped it to rear, took a picture, and then under the share sheet, I looked for Lookout, and then Lookout images, then you could ask it questions about the image. So what I just ended up doing there at the end is what else is on my table, or things like that, that it might let you know what's in the image that you've taken.
Does that Lookout? Is that
Yes,
is that
Google
the-
Lookout. It's Google Lookout Assisted Vision is the full name.
Oh, okay, but I have Google Lookout, but I have a phone. I have a Samsung 10. And I was
That's
wondering
fine.
if that
That's
compatible?
fine.
No,
the
the
same thing?
features, this is
Go ahead.
Kevin. The features will come out to anybody that's running, I think, Android 12 and above or something like that. But that's a new Lookout feature, so you don't have to have a certain, as long as your phone will support Lookout. But
Yeah, I
now
have.
I don't know
Oh,
if it's in the
the
images mode or
higher.
not. But now there's a play pause button down at the bottom by the home button, like there is on Envision AI. So now when you have text or something, you can get it to play and pause it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You didn't have that before.
Is that Kevin?
Yes. I think you can get it to play your description again if you don't want to swipe to it. Or
Come again?
I think there's a play pause button that you can get it to play your
Okay.
answer to your question or your description if you don't want to
By the way,
flick
Kevin,
to it.
let me ask you this since I'm having technicals tonight. What is your most trusted dongles?
Swipe with 2 fingers to unlock. Lock screen. Device unlocked. Lookout images mode. Button. Select mode.
Okay, never mind. It worked this time. It heard me. Yeah, what I was trying to say is, like, do you have any specific brands of dongles or anything that you buy? Because we don't have.
Only
headphone
dongle
jacks.
that I use is the mini jack to USB-C, so I can plug in regular
Right.
headphones.
And that's just what,
I
Samsung Pixel
I just
or
buy the one from Google.
Google? Okay.
Or even if I buy it on Amazon, I buy the one that Google or Samsung make.
Correct. I'm going to be interested in a funny way if any of the new Apple ones would be good for us, because they are using USB-C. Reason why I say that, they got the ones where you could charge your phone and then connect the headphones at the same time, right? Like the dual
but
whatever.
USB-C has versions, and theirs is using a earlier version of USB-C.
Is
I
it
think that
even on the Macs? I thought
Pixel
it was a
phones and
3.0.
stuff are like USB-C. I'm talking about for the iPhone 15.
Gotcha.
But I saw that theirs is like USB-C 1 or something like that, and the rest of the stuff is using like USB 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're on like what, at least 3.0 or whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
But let me see if I could. What was I doing? Go back to the image.
Camera. Button. View pictures and videos.
Let's go there.
Gallery. Button. Navigate up.
That's
Button. October 18th, 2023. Film strip 2 of 500. Button. Share.
And we'll go to share.
Share. Checkbox. Kurt messages. Out of Discord.
Okay.
Drive. Keep notes. Outlook. Skype. More. Skype. Outlook. Keep notes. Drive. Discord. Showing items 3 to 7. Drive. Outlook. Skype. More. Contact Google. Search image. Secure for Amazon Shopping. Pin. Row 6. LinkedIn. Row 5. Lens. Row 4. Chat. Column 1. Envision AI. Chat. Bluetooth. Bixby Vision. Adobe Acrobat. Bixby Vision. Adobe Acrobat Messages. Meet. Row 2. Voice. Column. Amazon Shopping. Secure folder. Google. Search. Contacts. Messages. Column 2. Lookout.
This is the part that I'm getting annoyed by the share sheets from us here at Google. Everything has to move on you, and then you're like, where did it go?
Recent media item details. In this picture.
Oh.
Button. Speak question. Checkbox. Play. Not checked. Pause. Play. Not checked.
That's the play pause you're talking about?
Pause. Play. Not checked. Button. Next.
Yes.
Checkbox. Play. Not checked.
Okay.
Pause. Play. Not checked. Button. Previous. Accessibility volume set to 85%. In this picture we can see the table and there is a laptop, wires, microphones, electronic board, a keyboard, light on the table. Button. Delete item. In this picture we can see the table and there is a details.
All I'm getting, and I'm not
checkbox. Play. Not checked.
really getting it to play anything. So
Button. Next. Checkbox. Play. Not checked. Pause. Play. Not checked.
yeah, so it's not working right now. But thank you, Kevin. And again, for anybody, Miss Patricia, Miss Shay, anybody else that's on the call, really appreciate you to be on the call tonight. Even Kevin, everyone else that we had, Dan. About to wrap up here, but yeah, that's kind of Google Lookout, and you got the Pixel 8, and we got a tablet coming from all over for Mr. Kevin. So we'll maybe talk about the tablet next month. But if you have any other questions, remember, reach out to us. If you're bored and you want to catch up, ibugtoday.com, and then go click on the YouTube channel, because then you can get all episodes. There's a whole playlist of 29 videos of Android Insight. So if you type in iBug Android Insight into YouTube in the search bar, you will find the whole list of videos. Matter of fact, let's go. Not enough time. But it's there. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and stay safe for Halloween. Everyone else, we'll catch you on the next episode, which check in on ibugtoday.com. It's third week of November. So with that, everyone, I do appreciate it. And thank you so much for taking the time to spend it with us. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my favorite call. Thank you, Hershey, and everyone.
Thank you.
Have a scary Halloween.
Yep. Boogity boogity boo.
Now I'm going to go have an ice cream slushy or
you owe
something.
me a milkshake, man.
Yeah, you got me thinking about it at the beginning. Now I'm going to go have one.
Did you reveal what your favorite was?
His was cookies and cream or something like that.
Oh no,
No,
mine was Hershey
Oh yeah,
chocolate.
Hershey's cream. Yeah,
They
chocolate
meant
stuff.
what yours was though.
Oh, mine. Oy vey. That espresso wasn't bad. Let's go espresso. Coffee.
Mhm.